Hey house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 18 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Emily Steele. Thank you so much for your support. And if you guys want to be house guest of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Alright, so they had nominations yesterday and we had co-HOHs, Natalie and Michelle, doing their thing. Alright, so Michelle put up Paul and Natalie put up Victor. And if your brain just exploded and you're really confused, you should definitely watch yesterday's spoiler where I explain how we arrived here, because nobody would have expected this, you know, at the very beginning of the week. I mean, it is only the second day or whatever, but you know what I mean. So anyway, the feeds come back after nominations, and we've got Paul and Victor chatting. Paul is pissed. So we know that Victor was warned ahead of time. I don't know if he got a chance to tell Paul because the feeds cut while Victor was talking to Natalie and Michelle. So Paul, he wants to know why they were nominated instead of Nicole and Corey, because they had a pretty solid plan that their group of 5 was going to take out Nicole and Corey and then battle it out when they got to the final 5. So Paul's just like, it's time to F shit up. I gotta see what's going on here. So then Victor's like, all right, like, you can get your info, but like, don't freak out, don't get weird, and don't blow up our games. So Paul goes over to the kitchen to confront Natalie, and he's like, hook me up, girl. What did I lie about? I need to know. So Natalie's like, I'd be happy to talk with you, but I want to wait until you're not heated because I don't want to talk like this. And he's like, I'm not heated. But I want to know why you guys called me a liar. So no one's really bringing any information to the table at first. Nobody wants to talk about it. Finally, Natalie's like, you lied about voting against Bronte. Remember when he gave Victor that sympathy vote? He was the only person who voted for Victor to stay. Yeah, they're bringing that up. So he's just like, you would freaking lie too. I would have been in danger if I had revealed that I voted that way, and I gave my freaking friend a pity vote. Sorry, not sorry. So then Michelle comes in, and Paul wants to know. Okay, so we know that Michelle was the one who nominated Paul, and apparently her speech was like whacked out. So Paul wants to know why Michelle called him an atheist in her speech. Apparently, Big Meech was all, we can't trust you because you're an atheist, yet you're always swearing on God. Like, what's that all about? So Paul's like, I told you that I don't believe in heaven or hell. That has nothing to do with me believing in God. So I'm like really insulted that you just went ahead and called me an atheist in your speech without really knowing. So then Michelle's like, okay, well, what religion are you? And Paul's like, it's none of your business. So then, you know, she apologizes for calling him an atheist in her speech, and she brings it back to game talk. She's like, okay, you knew that Day was going home, and you lied about it. Paul's like, I freaking wanted Bridget gone. I was very clear about that. She was my target. I didn't know for sure that those guys were going to vote out Day, which, like, he knew. But anyway, Natalie, oh my gosh, she will not let this go. She brings up the FT's comment again. She's like, you started that, and you were making fun of me with Polly, and blah, 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 blah. And Paul is just like, oh my god, we've already dissected this and, like, fixed all this up. I thought we moved on from this. And then they start bringing up things that Paulie said before he left the house. He was trying to shake things up. Remember, he was trying to set up Nicole and Corey so that they would be safe this week. Exactly what's happening here. And Paul's just like, really? You're going to rely on things that Paulie said? And he's not even here anymore? Like, you're going to trust Paulie, and he's not even here anymore, so we can't ask him about it. What the hell? So then, after all this, he just wants to know, who wants some taco meat? Oh my god. I feel like this is the second time that, like, an argument has ended with Victor asking, like, who wants tacos? Right? This is at least the second time. So a few minutes later, we've got those chuckleheads, Nicole and Corey, dancing around, carefree in the storage room. They're feeling pretty safe right now. They feel good about what just happened. So then, it was time for round 2, with Paul, Natalie, and Michelle up in the HOH room. James was also there, but he's been really quiet the last day or so. So Paul wants to know, when did you decide that this is what you're going to do? When did you decide that you were going to put me up on the block? Like, were you playing me the whole time or what? And Natalie's like, I decided Thursday after the live show, but before the HOH competition. And I remember this all happened very quickly, and it was like really weird how it all went down. And Michelle's like, I decided this morning. All right. So then Natalie is talking about how she heard that Paul told Paulie some stuff. And she's referring to the rumor that Paul told Paulie that James would go after Nicole and Corey if he won HOH. So Paul's like, no freaking way. Nicole and Corey were telling you stuff they got in your head. I see that now. And it's annoying that they got to you like that. And Natalie's like, but I just don't get it. Like, why would somebody make something like that up? Really? And Paul is just like, so that they'd be safe this week? Is that a real question? So then Natalie's asking him straight up, did you tell Paulie that James was targeting Nicole and Corey? And he was like, no effing way. And I'm assuming that it was Nicole that told you that, because she didn't want to give up who said it. But, I mean, obviously it was either Nicole or Corey, and he guessed right with Nicole. Okay, so then Paul's like, I just want you to know, like, Victor and I were totally committed to you guys. We totally wanted to go to the Final Five with you guys. You made a mistake just now. Nicole and Corey, they're going to vote out Victor if he's still up on the block after this Power Veto competition. They're not going to do what you want them to do. They're going to take out Victor, so I hope you're happy now. So then Natalie's crying. She's like, did I make a mistake? I guess we can still backdoor someone else. She's just like, I did not expect her to get this upset about Victor potentially going home. Because, like, remember when Natalie hated Victor? But now she's all upset about that. So Paul's like, listen, if I do go home this week, it's no hard feelings. I'm not going to be, like, total freak about it. I'm not going to campaign against my friend and, like, bring up all my sick relatives and stuff. Paulie. But he tells them, if I go home, you guys need to work with Victor and take out Nicole and Corey. So then Paul freaking drops a bomb. He is like, so Corey said something about you a while back, but I didn't want to tell you because it wasn't game related, and I didn't want to, like, blow stuff up. So, of course, Natalie's like, oh my God, what did he say? What did he say? So she's making guesses here. Paul won't tell her straight up. So she guesses right-ish. She's like, did he say that I'm sleeping my way to the top with James? And Paul's like, yeah, I mean, like, it's along those lines. So she is pissed when she hears that. Okay. So, and you know how Natalie is with comments like that? Like, anything about her as a person, not a game player, she's going to bring that into the game. So then Paul reports back to Victor, and he's like, yeah, that conversation I just had up there went pretty well. These girls are crying. They know they messed up, and it's looking like maybe we could get Corey up on the block, you know? Maybe we could get rid of him this week, and it'll all be fine. So then Michelle and Paul were chatting in the London room, and she's like, Paul, I just want you to know that I went into this week wanting to go after Nicole and Corey. I didn't change my mind until I talked to Natalie. I was planning on putting Nicole up, but when Natalie told me that she wanted you up, I realized I had no chance. My hands were tied, because if Paul was up on the block, that would mean that James and Corey would both be voting, and it would have been a waste because Nicole would stay. So she was like, I couldn't do it. So then she's saying, I want one of you guys to win the veto. We'll get Corey nominated, get him out of here. So she's pushing for this backdoor plan. She wants to see it happen. And it seems like she really, you know, does feel that way. She's not BSing him. So she says, we just need to get James on board. And Paul's like, James isn't on board? So then Paul assures her, like, there's not going to be any animosity. If things go okay this week, it's going to be fine. I'm not going to come after you guys. All right. So then Natalie is crying to James in the HOH room because she's all, did I make a mistake? And she feels bad because she told Victor at the beginning of the week that he was going to be safe, and then she nominated him, and now he could possibly be going home, and he's just such a nice guy. Again, remember when Natalie hated Victor? Crazy. So James is trying to make her feel better, and he's like, you know, the guys understand that this is a game. They're going to respect that you made a big move here, but, you know, also Victor has a really good chance of winning the power veto, so he might not even go home. And Natalie's like, you know what? I kind of want to nominate Corey as the replacement nominee because he's a douche. So James is like, it's your HOH. You can do what you want. I'm going to support you. So at this point, James is not really giving... He's not really giving a lot of input. I mean, he's not saying who he really wants out at this point, but he's all like, I'll support you. So she's kind of like lost. She's being very indecisive and flip-floppy. So then Michelle and Victor are chatting in the safari room. And again, Michelle explains how they got here, how she wanted to go after Nikori, yada, yada, yada. But now, you know, they can still get Corey up on the block if the right person wins the veto. They just need to convince James. So she tells Victor, James is worried that you and Paul are going to, you know, be all pissed that you went up on the block and you would target him next week. So then Paul and James join them. And of course, Victor and Paul are saying, like, we were never coming after you or Natalie, and we'll still be cool next week. You know, let's just get rid of Corey and it's all good. So they're talking about all the paranoia that Paulie created on his way out. They're trying to straighten all that nonsense out. And then they ask James, like, are you on board with this plan to backdoor Corey? And he's just like, yeah. I don't know. He was really quiet during this whole conversation again. But he was like, yeah, I'll do it as long as that's what Natalie wants. Like, I'm on board. And then he was saying, I don't want you to be mad at Natalie because she was just trying to protect me because she thought I was in trouble with the rumors that Paulie was spreading. So then Paul's like, no, it's all good. I want to go call out Nicole and Corey, try to rattle their cages before the power veto competition. Oh boy. Okay, so then the five, meaning Paul, Victor, Meech, Natalie, and James, were all up in the HOH room. Natalie, again, is apologizing for putting the guys up on the block. They're like, it's fine, we're gonna get rid of Corey. And Natalie's all like, yeah, let's do it. So she's like totally on board at this point. And Paul decides it's time to clarify what Corey said about Natalie. So apparently Corey said that Natalie will suck James's D all the way to the top, and James will just let it happen. Wow, that's effed up. She's even more pissed now, so it's just fueling that fire for her to get rid of Corey this week. So, again, Paul keeps saying, I want to call out Corey on their lies. I want to make them look like idiots, blah, 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 blah. So then Natalie's like, no, I'm exhausted. Like, don't do this right now. Wait until the morning. And he's like, we'll see. So then Corey gets called to the diary room, and Paul sees this as his perfect opportunity to go get Nicole by herself, because, I mean, really, Nicole and Corey are basically attached at the hip. So he runs down to the kitchen to attack. So Paul confronts Nicole in the kitchen. Other people were listening from other rooms. They were just, you know, what's going on? Oh my God. Okay, so Paul is like, Nicole, how the hell am I a manipulator? I need some answers here. You're the reason that I'm up on the block this week. And Nicole's like, oh my God, I had nothing to do with it. I didn't even know you were going up. So Paul is bringing up what he supposedly said to Paulie about James targeting Nicole and Corey. And Nicole is adamant that she did not make that up. And I totally believe her that Paulie told her that. Because Paulie was spreading all sorts of stuff before he left the house. I don't know for sure if Paul actually said that to Paulie. I don't think so. But yeah, I don't think Nicole is lying here either. So then Paul's like, how convenient that Paulie is not here, you know, to back up your story. So Corey comes out of the diary room, and this, oh my God, this is like a classic Big Brother moment. You got freaking Nicole and Paul arguing. Corey comes out of the diary room so excited, being like, guys, my Patriotard costume is done. Like, I don't have to wear this anymore. So, you know, like when people are done with their costumes and they do like those little striptease things, and it's kind of a big deal. So freaking Corey is standing there in the kitchen, like stripping off his unitard. Well, Nicole and Paul are still yelling at each other. He's like throwing his pants at people. Like, it's just like, what is happening? It was so ridiculous. So Nicole is then saying, like, somebody told me that you, Paul, are targeting me. So he's like, give me some names. Who said that? And she's like, I heard it from multiple people. Like, I'm not going to tell you who. So then they go back and forth. Oh my God. And I feel like Paul was dominating this conversation, because you know how Nicole is in a fight. She's just like, she just got nothing to say. So I mean, even when she is telling the truth, she's just not good with confrontation. So eventually Victor and Corey both get involved. Freaking Dategate comes up again about, you know, did Victor ask Nicole out on a date or not? I can't believe that's still a thing and that it's even important to the game. But Nicole's all, I don't like confrontation. So eventually it ends. Nicole goes up to the HOH room where Natalie, James, and Meech are hanging out. So she tells them what happened. She's like, he was yelling at me. So then she's saying, I want you guys to know, Paulie did not lie to me. Paul has been targeting James. He's been spreading information about you guys. That's all true. So she says. So then Paul gets a freaking red alert. He's got to pat everyone down, including Nicole. So he goes up to the HOH room and he says, Big Brother hooked me up with a red alert to make sure you're not spreading more bullshit in here. Okay, so Nicole and Paul continue their little spat in the HOH room. It's still going on, and Natalie's like, oh my God, I didn't know that I was on Jerry Springer, and they're arguing about who the stronger duo is. Is it Paul and Victor? Is it Nicole and Corey? So Paul is saying, you guys are stronger because, Nicole, you haven't been up on the block once. Corey has barely been up. You know, it obviously shows that you guys are manipulative. You can stay off the block. And then Nicole is saying, you guys are stronger because, you know, you're strong competitors, and that's why you've been on the block so much. So, I mean, they're just going back and forth, blah, 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 blah. Okay, Paul's costume is done. I'm kind of bummed out about that because it was really entertaining. But anyway, James and Natalie, after all that craziness, were chatting alone in the HOH room, and it sounds like James still wants to stick with Nicole and Corey, get rid of either Paul or Victor this week. He's like, I've got Nicole. Her parents love me. We talked, like, after my season, so, like, she's gonna stick with us. I've got her on an emotional level. And then James is saying, like, if one of them were to win the next HOH, they would not put us up. And you know what? Like I said yesterday, I think it probably is better for James and Natalie to go ahead with Nicole and Corey. But I feel like James's motivations here are off because we heard the other day Natalie comes out of the diary room and she's just like, oh yeah, she basically said that production wants them to work with Nicole and Corey. They want the two showmances to work together. So I feel like, you know, James is always angling for America's favorite player. So I think he's worried in the back of his mind that if they go and get rid of Nicole and Corey, that's going to go away. America's not going to want to work with them. And that is so disappointing that they're playing that way. Ugh, it makes me so angry. But anyway, sorry, Flash. So then, last night, as if it wasn't crazy enough, the house guests were not getting their beauty rest because Big Brother was making these announcements over the loudspeaker all throughout the night because it's time for a memory competition. That's right. So this Power Veto was going to be based on these announcements that Big Brother was making. They had a BB Stormwatch theme. They started a little bit after 1:30 a.m. and each announcement included some evicted house guests, so like Superstorm Glenn, it's raining cats and well-groomed dogs, and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. So they had a bunch of different announcements. I'm not going to read them all word for word because that would take forever. But anyway, everyone was studying pretty hard all night, especially Paul and Victor. I mean, Paul was like freaking crazed with this studying. But Nicole and Corey were too busy freaking cuddling and making out in their nest in the Tokyo room. I don't think Nicole and Corey even woke up for the last announcement. For real. Like, they were not taking this seriously at all. They obviously feel very safe at this point. But everybody else, you know, they were up studying, or they would go to sleep and wake up and study and go to sleep and wake up and study. So this morning, they had the have-not reveal. James and Victor are the have-nots this week. It's Victor's first time. Should be interesting. And their extra food, all the pies you can eat. Too bad Paulie's gone. Not really. But, yeah, that's a fun reward. I wonder if they're gonna have like savory pies too. Like, can they have like pot pie? I don't know. But anyway, they also had the Power Veto player draw, and everybody is playing except for Nicole, which means she'll be hosting. I mean, I guess the not studying didn't really affect her, but Corey, ooh. Okay, so then there was some downtime before the competition. James and Natalie had a long-ass chat. They were salty that Paul and Victor were up in the HOH room studying all night, and they didn't get their time alone. But they were also debating if Paul or Corey should be the one to go this week. So Natalie's basically saying, like, Victor's off the table. She doesn't want to get rid of him. She respects his gameplay. She doesn't want to get rid of him. But, you know, James is really pushing still for Paul to go this week. It's the same arguments as before, like, I feel like we can trust Nicole and Corey, blah, blah, blah. Paul is smart, he's a better competitor, and he ends up convincing Natalie again that it should be Paul going and that they should move forward with Nicole and Corey. So, I mean, there's just so much flip-flopping, it's ridiculous. But it's time for the Power Veto competition. Feeds were down for a while. We know it was the memory one. And freaking Paul's studying paid off because he was a big winner. So now what's going to happen? Oh my god. So obviously Victor's going to be staying up on the block unless Paul goes freaking crazy and uses the veto on him. But that would be insane. So we're assuming that Paul is going to use it on himself. Will it be Nicole or Corey going up in his place? And what is freaking James gonna do? What's Michelle gonna do? I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. And until tomorrow, much love.